Yo, what is up guys, as we are back again for another F1 review of the 2021 World Championship. As we're going to talk about the racing, the final race of the season, of course, with Eddie Derby as we get to a very bad start, like Verstappen in real life there. But my start was much worse and oh, I got damage. Okay, we're going to restart. That's embarrassing. But we're going to talk about the race and we're going to talk about the decisions and everything. And you know what I've been seeing on the media the last couple of days is that Verstappen doesn't really deserve the World Championship, and that really upsets me. It sort of pisses me off to a certain extent, and I cannot lie about that. And I'm going to talk about a few points in this race and in this season, you know. And I genuinely don't feel that, so I go a little bit too aggressive there on the curb and let Checo pass. But I just don't really feel happy with everyone slating Verstappen, saying, not even slating the Verstappen, slating the FIA there, and try and take away what a championship and what a last lap that was in the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, which does really disappoint me, the fact that, and how Mercedes have reacted to this, and in my opinion, they've been really poor losers. If you ask me honestly, I think Mercedes have been really poor losers this season, and I just feel a little bit disappointed the fact that they were like that. I mean, there are lots of ways that you can react after a loss, and the way Mercedes reacted after the loss, for me, is just distasteful and really disappointing. I genuinely feel if Red Bull, they lost the race, they wouldn't have gone and say, oh, lap one we had that incident, and without that incident, and they wouldn't have got a lawyer to try and get Lewis a 5-second penalty if the race finished under safety car. I don't think that Red Bull would have done that. I genuinely don't, you know, because they knew that they didn't have the quicker car that weekend, and they tried every trick in the book to win this race. So let's talk about the race itself, and of course the first lap, the move Verstappen on Lewis Hamilton. I was shocked that the FIA didn't tell Lewis, or the race stewards didn't tell Lewis to give back that position. And a lot of people that I spoke to, and some of them, they will say, you know, Max is crazy, he's been diving up the inside of Lewis, and Lewis has to get out of the way 9 times out of 10. That's right. But every racing driver knows, if you're on the outside, you back out. There is a rule in racing that if you're on the outside, and if you can watch back this clip from Lewis Hamilton, and he gave this analogy in 2015 when he was racing Nico Rosberg. He says, if you're on the outside, you have to back out. You cannot complain if you get pushed off wide or whatsoever, because the car on the inside will always do that, you know, unless you got half a car ahead, then it's a completely different story. But if you have only wheel to wheel, you're always going to get pushed out wide. So he did a very late and aggressive move there, and Lewis was able to get the place, and I was like, fucking hell, what is going on with the FIA? That was my first gripe with the FIA. I cannot lie to you, I was feeling very upset at that point. And then Lewis just got away, he built a gap, he was extremely quick in the whole race. I would say that he deserved this weekend.
Lap of the race.
But he was so quick, and he just got away. And they didn't get the penalty, and at that point I was thinking, you know, he's going to win the race. I mean, would that have made a difference? Even if he was behind with the superior pace of the Mercedes, he probably could have gotten ahead. But the fact that, you know, he didn't go past the fact that he cut the chicane in the first lap, that really upset me. That really made me really disappointed. But okay, the stewards didn't, and that was my frustration with the stewards. But I was also frustrated with the fact that, you know, Lewis again just chooses to, I don't know what is wrong with Lewis against Verstappen. He just seems afraid to cover the inside line when he's against Verstappen. But it's okay. So we go to the mid part of the race, Verstappen pits, and critically, I still don't see much people talking about it, but Checo Perez, his defense is the key to winning this weekend for Verstappen. He could, if he let Hamilton by easily, and that was, I think at that point, I think a 10 or 8 second gap, Hamilton would have been able to pick up the pace and probably get about 4 or 5 seconds extra, as we saw in the, after he was like a second behind, as Verstappen was a second behind him. So he could pull like at least 4 or 5 seconds, and that would have ruined the race for Red Bull completely, because then they had the VSC gap, they had the every gap, they had the safety car gap, and they could react to Red Bull without this drama. And Mercedes, they were like they were overly cautious. They genuinely were this weekend. I don't know why they choose to leave him out there even during the VSC. That was super weird, especially when Verstappen came into the pits. There was another lap of VSC, and Mercedes didn't pit him. I was surprised at that. But okay, so Checo done his job, and then Lewis pulled away again, and Lewis pulled again. I think he pulled about 4 or 5 seconds on Max. And then after that, I think it was Giovinazzi which had an issue, and then after that, there was a VSC situation, and Toto was saying, "Oh, please, no safety car. It interferes with the race. Ridiculous." I think it's ridiculous that the FIA is even talking. I mean, even a team principal is asking for this type of thing. But okay, so you can see that at the first few start of the race, the decisions were towards Lewis, and nobody says that. Everybody says FIA wants to support Max Verstappen, blah 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 blah, whatever bullshit. But nobody speaks about this situation. There were so many things that was pivotal to help Lewis, and nobody speaks about it. But okay, never mind. It's okay.
This is your final lap.
Then of course, with the Nicholas Latifi situation, everybody says, and then that was okay. Sorry, Nicholas Latifi. I was a little bit too emotional racing there, but so anyways. So Nicholas Latifi crashed, and that was 100% safety. I cannot believe that I see some pundits and whatsoever talking about the race should have been red flag to make sure that it's fair. Did they say that in Baku when Verstappen's tire blown up, and then after that he finished the race with no points? Did anybody ever said that? Oh yeah, we should, stop the whole race and wait for Verstappen's car to get fixed because of the Pirelli tires? Or did we say, even like Checo, Red Bull in Hungary, did we say that Red Bull should have, Bottas took both Mercedes out, both Red Bulls out? Was that fair? Nobody talked about all these type of incidents. Well, let's talk about Bahrain, where Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton used 24 times the runoff area at turn, I think it was turn 7 or something. Why does nobody speaks about all of these things to say about fair? But when it comes to Verstappen, they're like, oh yeah, they should have red flagged this and whatsoever, blah blah blah. What a load of nonsense, in my opinion. Absolute nonsense. And I just really feel uncomfortable, not because Verstappen win, and I'm a huge fan of Lewis Hamilton. I am a huge fan of Lewis Hamilton. I genuinely feel that he's the best driver I ever seen. But the way the whole Mercedes team reacted after this, for me, is unacceptable. I mean, they are 8-time Constructors champion, and they act like this after a race. I genuinely feel that they forgotten how to lose, and they are bad losers, in my opinion. I genuinely feel that. And okay, let's talk about the last few laps in the race. So Hamilton couldn't pit, because if he pitted, he would have lost the what do you call it? The track position to Verstappen. So he couldn't pit. And then after that, you could see in his mind, he knew he was fucked. He knew that he was gonna have an issue. And then there was, I think, 4 lap cars in between him. And I don't know why. I don't know why. Lap 55, why the FIA did not let the lap cars pass. Why? I don't know. I genuinely didn't know. You could hear on the radio, even Bono was surprised. Bono was surprised when he told Lewis, lap cars, they're not going to let the lap cars pass. He couldn't believe it. And let's talk about even, who's that guy called? Alonso and Vettel was calling for it. Lap 55. You have to let the lap cars pass. So he made Michael Masi, in my opinion, made the wrong decision there. And then after that, he decided, Christian Horner, lap 56, I think, he told them, he said, okay, why are we not, and he asked them these questions. And then Michael Masi was like, oh yeah, it makes sense. It's a bit like football when, you know, maybe it's a clear-cut penalty, and then after that, you know, after the clear-cut penalty, he decides that it's not a penalty, but then after he goes to the VAR and he gives the penalty. But it was a clear-cut penalty. The lap car should have been able to go past, and that's the truth. And I don't understand why people keep thinking that it was favoring Verstappen and Lewis, blah blah blah. Those are the rules. Lap cars should have always been let pass, and that is the truth. If you watch Formula 1 for a long time, you should know that lap cars should always unlap themselves. There's very little time where lap cars are not allowed to let themselves. And you want to say, okay, maybe they should have let the whole field, blah blah blah. You know, at the end of the day, it didn't affect anyone else other than the two championship contenders. You know why? Because the two championship contenders, they were fighting for the biggest prize. And the rest of the whole grid, it didn't really matter because they were not racing for much stuff. And if you look at even that situation, if you look back at it, there was nobody who lost the position. So, you know, I understand people getting frustrated, finding excuses for Mercedes and finding excuses for Lewis Hamilton. But come on, you guys have to accept that Verstappen this season has been the better driver, and he's had one bit of luck this season. And in my opinion, this was very lucky because the safety car, he was very lucky. But the lap car should have been always available to unlap themselves. And that's the truth. And if you can't accept that, you probably just watch Formula 1 or you're just a blind Lewis Hamilton fan. Because they've always allowed lap cars to pass. And when we heard about it, you listen to the radios, even Bono was like confused. He was like, oh wait, they're not letting the lap pass by? He can't believe it. He can't believe it. So I'm just sick and tired with the fans and maybe some of the media saying that Verstappen don't deserve the championship, or just putting too much light on the FIA. In my opinion, the FIA, at the end of the day, they made the right call. If they finished the race behind the safety car, it would have left a very bad taste in my mouth in terms of, you know, the first lap incident, which I never ever thought why Lewis didn't get a penalty, didn't have to give the place back, you know. And I just really felt very disappointed. If that was going to be the end, I would have been very disappointed. And if they let the lap cars in between them, I would have been very disappointed as well. I mean, can you imagine 4 lap cars in between the two championship protagonists? And I don't understand why. There is no reason for it. We all know since the rules changed, I think I've forgotten when it changed, but there was this particular year that the rules changed that the lap cars are allowed to unlap themselves, and lap cars have always been allowed to unlap themselves. So why the difference this weekend? I really don't understand. And why is everybody talking about the FIA rather than talking about Verstappen's amazing move on Lewis Hamilton? I am fuming. I'm disappointed because every day I open up my account and I see that. Anyways, I'm just saying what I feel. Hope we have a great season and hope you guys have a great new year. And, you know, I don't get too intense with the sport, but of course, you know, just accept that, in my opinion, Lewis Hamilton is an amazing driver. The best ever. One of the best ever. top 3 of all time, in my opinion. But Verstappen deserves this season. Verstappen deserves this season. Alright guys, thank you.